James Ward, that's me, was born in England in 1961, and hopefully I won't be dying for some time yet. In 2012, I published a book called A New Theory of Justice, to which I've added several unrelated essays over the years. In this short video, I'm going to explain the title work, which runs to about 12,000 words. The essay takes issue with social contract explanations of justice, which have a long history in Western philosophy. Very roughly, the social contract idea is that in any lawless community, my neighbours can inflict more harm on me than I can on them. And since that goes for each one of us, it makes sense for us all to formally agree not to harm one another. We make a contract to that effect, and anyone who breaks it gets punished, and that's where justice comes from. The problem with that account is that it can't survive history. Once upon a time, it was probably considered something that might once have happened. Nowadays, it looks no more historical than the story of Adam and Eve. So instead, it becomes a kind of general society foundational myth, which might be fine were it not for its complete uselessness, because when people want to restore, establish or dispense justice, they don't have recourse to social contract theory. Rather, they talk in terms derived from morality. They talk about good and bad, right and wrong. In short, I'm fast-forwarding a bit here, my contention is that we don't need a separate theory of justice, because everything we need to answer the question what is justice is fully supplied by theories of morality, utilitarianism for example, but also, and alternatively, deontology and natural law. In other words, I'm proposing what might be called a redundancy theory of justice. That's not my last word on the matter, however, because there's a more interesting meta-question about states of affairs that we call just. How is the word justice generally used? Here I argue that there are two opposed notions: harmonic justice, which interprets justice in terms of conformity to some pre-existing pattern, the forms, for example, in Plato, or the balance of karma in Buddhism and Hinduism, and emancipatory justice, which arises in reaction to harmonic justice and is about freedom from restraint. Finally, I argue that partly as a consequence of all that, when it comes to the justice-injustice dichotomy, it's actually injustice that's the primordial term. The proof of that is that we usually have very firm, specific ideas about what constitutes injustice. We recognise it fairly instantly. By contrast, we find justice much more difficult to articulate. Anyway, that's my theory, in a rather inadequate nutshell.